We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power. Fight the power. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Welcome to the Blitz with Rob and Chris. We got our first professional athlete on the pod today. Josh Powell joined the show. We pre-recorded the interview, so we're going to get the podcast started and then roll into the interview with Josh Powell. Rob, what it do out there?
I'm hanging in there, man. These long days in Miami. It's hot. It's the summer. They talking about closing the beach for the 4th of July. But, you know, you need the water. You need the outside when it gets hot like this.
Man, shut that shit down for the 4th. It should have been open for Juneteenth. They ain't celebrating that shit. Look, had a good week, bro. I was off this week. Had a little vacation with the fam. Went to Milton, Florida in the cabins. Social distance, just chill, relax. So I'm feeling good. But kind of unwind today. You know, I watched the BET Awards and they ruined the shit for me, bro. Wayne Brady, tribute to Lil Richie. Come on, man. BET, y'all gotta do better than that. Gotta do better than that.
Listen, we played Fight the Power because that Fight the Power intro was strong. I'm talking about, last I heard, Chuck D and Flavor Flav were in a little feud over how the name, image, and likeness of Public Enemy was being used. But tonight, they were both on there. You had YG. You had a little bit of everybody. I think Rhapsody was on there. Everybody was merged into the intro. I loved it. But I'm not going to lie to you. When the Lil Richie thing came on for Wayne Brady, I heard Wayne Brady's name. I hit the fast forward button.
Bruh.
Hit the fast forward button, took a bathroom break. But, yeah, I didn't stick around for that.
Ruined it for me. He ruined it for me. But look, let's hop right into it. We don't have much time. We're gonna get y'all into the interview. But first, breaking news today. We're recording on Sunday, June 28th. So Cam Newton just signed with the Patriots. So Rob, what's your initial reaction to Cam?
Cam. Listen, I don't know how this is gonna work. Cam is a bit of a diva. I follow him on social media with the cryptic typings and all of that type of stuff. He already posted something where he's posed like this. He was with OBJ working out over the weekend. I would like to say that maybe prompted it. He looked good out there throwing the ball around. But those personalities, man, like Bill and Cam Newton. But if it works, if it works. And the funny thing is, we said this about 10 episodes ago.
Right.
That there were rumblings that Bill Belichick, like the mobile quarterback, he was going to wait for Cam to get healthy and he was going to bring him in on the low. We said that a long time ago. And so here it is. It's a no-win. It's a no-lose situation for Bill. At this point, nobody really expects a lot of them. If they have to cut Cam and they go with Jarrett Stidham and they don't make the playoffs, they'll probably get a high draft pick. And if it does work out, well, now you have a former MVP who went 14-2 and went to a Super Bowl, and you have him with probably the best, defensive-minded coach and the best offensive coordinator,
right?
Because they have a really good offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels as well.
So listen, it's an incentive-laden deal. It's a 1-year contract. So we got a friend, Jason, who's been on the podcast before from Boston. He's talking to us about he thinks Cam won't even make it to the regular season. And I'm not going to lie. I could see that happening. They brought in bigger free agents before, right, big names. So we'll see. However, I think it's a great opportunity for Cam and for Belichick, right? Because we've talked about this before. Belichick versus Brady. Who deserves more credit? So if Belichick can do it with Cam, that just puts Belichick on another level.
Keep going.
And then I was going to say, well, you look at Cam in the NFC South in Carolina. You got to go through Drew Brees. Now they added Tom Brady. You had Matt Ryan, who was an MVP quarterback at one time. So you had some tough division opponents. You go to the NFC East. Yes, Buffalo is on the rise, but Miami's looking at Tua as a rookie quarterback, or Fitzpatrick, a 15-year journeyman. You have the Jets, Sam Darnold. They haven't looked like shit in the last 15 years. And in Buffalo, while they are a solid team, Josh Allen still has a lot left to be desired as a championship-level quarterback. So Cam goes into it with an opportunity to win a division. And if you win a division, you got a shot.
Right. And I said this in the group text. Josh Gordon's still out there. Antonio Brown's still out there. So, right. As much as you say, they don't have any targets, come mid-season, that roster, that offense could look totally different. Sonny Michel's still there, running back. The offensive line was always good. So, it'll get interesting.
And let's face it, Cam have weapons in Carolina. Like, he's a guy who uses his ability to scramble, get open, you know. And I mean, Brady didn't have any weapons, but they're going to have a stout defense. Belichick is the best defensive-minded coach in the league. So I like it. We're going to see what's happening. A player who commented on it was Jamal Adams, who said he liked the move as a division opponent. So I don't know how much the Jets like him saying that, but Jamal Adams not really in the business of pleasing the Jets right now. He demanded the trade. Do you see him going? He said he wanted to go to Dallas. Do you see him making a move? And do you see any players really making a move that's not happy with contracts at this time?
No, I mean, what has he got? 2 years left on his deal?
2 years left, right?
Is it one and then the player and then the team option?
Right, correct.
Right. And, you know, unless they get a big haul, they're not sending him anywhere. My understanding is he's from Texas. He was to Dallas. He was talking about potentially going to Dallas. Somebody was yelling at him out of a car and he said, I'm trying to make it happen. I don't see it happening. The Jets are legitimately trying to rebuild. And I think his cap number next year is pretty high. I want to say I heard that it might be $9 million, which I'm not looking at the Cowboys, you know, cap sheet right now, but with what they just paid Zeke, what they're going to pay Dak on the franchise tag, and the fact that they paid Cooper, and now you got CeeDee Lamb, who you're going to have to think about, you know, what you do with him because his contract is going to go up and then need to be re-signed. So I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it either. The one thing I do want to point out, though, is I've been hearing a lot of analysts, a lot of media talk about why would the Jets sign him to an extension when they have him for 2 more years? It doesn't make sense. Listen, it didn't make sense when Philadelphia gave the money to Carson Wentz early. Didn't make sense when the Rams gave it to Jared Goff early. So it's not unprecedented. These teams are giving these money to certain positions, specifically quarterbacks.
Christian McCaffrey got it early too.
And so I think Jamal Adams is on the level where he's outplayed his contract clearly of a rookie. He's the leader of the defense and possibly the leader of the whole team. So if you don't pay him and you get him upset, it could have ramifications throughout that locker room and on the season as a whole and moving forward. So I think there is a reason, although maybe not contractually obligated to give him an extension. You know, as a team, you got to take care of your best players. And if he was a quarterback, I think they would have taken care of him. And so I think these teams got to start looking at not only quarterback position, but just the leaders and the captains of their team as a whole and try to get them signed to long-term deals. But we're going to keep it there. Moving on to NASCAR. The story broke after we recorded last podcast with NASCAR finding a noose and notifying Bubba Wallace and let the media know that an investigation was going to be started. It came to light. FBI did the investigation, found that the rope hanging out of Garage 4, which Bubba Wallace was assigned to, that looked like a noose, was in the garage since October of 2019. So no charges on a hate crime were made or no further investigations. However, NASCAR has not closed the investigation on their side in-house. So just want to get your thoughts, Robin, what you think, you know, after seeing it for a week go down, what's your thoughts on the whole process?
I mean, I know a lot of people were really hard on NASCAR, and I even, you know, from the Blitz with Rob and Chris Twitter page, debated with some people who felt like Bubba Wallace wanted this to be true. He wanted that moment. NASCAR and Bubba Wallace, you know, owe America an apology because they set race relations back years. I disagree with all of that. I think that NASCAR handled the situation properly. When you hear the evidence that actually came forward, there were only 11 pull ties, I think they said total, and that was the only one that was tied in that fashion. And they searched through all of the tracks, all of the garages, and they came up with 11 pull ties, one tied in the fashion of a noose. It was reasonable that in that moment, they believed that this was some type of targeted message. And what's also important is, as we stand here today, they're still not sure if the garage assignment may have been intentional to have him see that noose. So if NASCAR would have released a statement without contacting the FBI because somebody said that it was there in October, nobody would have believed them. The FBI added legitimacy to the investigation. Now, on top of all of that, they're saying that it was there since October, but it wasn't there at the beginning of that race. So they have somebody saying that somebody tied it in that fashion at the end of the last race at Talladega in October 2019. We haven't seen the video evidence of it. Apparently there is video evidence of it. I'll take them at their word for that. but it's very suspicious given that, initially they were making it seem, at least the social media world was making it seem like pull ties were so common. Now we've reduced it to 11, and then everybody kept saying it wasn't even tied as a noose. It was in the fashion of a noose. Then we saw it, and it was as close to being a noose as anything could possibly be.
Right.
So I don't fault NASCAR for their reaction to the situation. I kind of actually applaud them given the current environment. And I definitely don't think that Bubba Wallace had anything to gain because he had already made a name for himself by, having the Black Lives Matter car and getting the Confederate flag taken down. So I don't think he needed to go an extra step after that point. If, he didn't need to go Jussie Smollett, let's just say.
There was a lot of name out there.
The Twitter world was calling him Bubba Smollett, and I'm not here for that. It's not okay.
Listen, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I think that NASCAR, given its reputation, had to make the announcement on the investigation that was being done. And for all those people that's throwing Bubba Wallace, he didn't even find the noose. It was found by one of the pit crew members who sent it to NASCAR after investigating all the garage doors, as you mentioned, with no other pulls tied in that fashion. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where Bubba Wallace got the tag of being, trying to use this to gain advantage. He never even saw the actual noose tied in a garage when all the information went out there. So, and secondly, like you mentioned earlier, I want to know if this was since October 2019, who's assigning those garages. I looked at the positions, the pole positions for Talladega. It was 40 drivers in that race. So out of 40 drivers, the only black driver got assigned to the one garage with the knot tied like a noose. I find that hard to believe. I find that the odds are not in your favor to be assigned that garage though. So, like you said, I'm glad NASCAR, but let's face it, the reputation deemed the investigation necessary. They just dropped the Confederate flag 2 weeks ago.
And you had a driver drop out of NASCAR because of the removal of the Confederate flag. And on top of all this just kind of disappeared. There was an announcement. There was a noose found in a tree at the racetrack in Sonoma. And then all of a sudden that just went away. FBI announced that this was nothing. And then all of a sudden Bubba Wallace was under attack. I want to know what happened to that second noose in Sonoma. I read the article, and then all of a sudden when the FBI made their announcement, nobody talked about the noose in Sonoma anymore. So
yeah, man, that's crazy. But I just wanted to talk about that. I know it's been a week long, but it was a lot of information that happened. So I definitely want to address that. Let's quickly go to MLB. They're returning 60-game schedule. I don't know how relevant it's going to be. They're starting the exact same time as the NBA, and then it's going to flow into the NBA playoffs along with football. So my question to you is, they're coming back. Are you excited?
Yeah, I was about to just say quickly is right, because I think we can quickly move on from this topic. I would have been excited if they would have done this a month ago, but a 60-game baseball season starting the same week as basketball. Basketball is going to go 5 games and go into the playoffs, and then basketball is going to bleed into football. Baseball is going to be a distinct second to both basketball and football. I mean, I would like to say that the 60-game schedule is going to make it more exciting, but I don't know. I mean, it with the condensed schedule, pitchers going to be pitching on short rest. Now they're saying, well, we'll expand the roster to bring in more pitchers, which I think can dilute the game. And they have these crazy extra inning rules where a man starts on second base in order to make the games go faster. That could mess up some, seedings type stuff. And we might see situations where the best teams don't even end up making the playoffs because MLB does not put a lot of people in the playoffs. Right.
It could be a team that, maybe won 20 games that might win a World Series this year. And as we see the baseball, it doesn't matter. It's a sport where it's really down to pitching.
Right.
The best team does not always win. It's just a lot of things happen in baseball. So moving on, because I'm not that excited about baseball. We'll talk about that shit later. Let's talk about basketball before we go into the interview. Starting with the schedule. The schedule was released. The Lakers and Clippers will be playing the first game to at least their first game. It's kicking off. Exactly. It's popping off. Also, they have 5 players so far opt out. One is the Lakers' Avery Bradley. Willie Cauley-Stein is doing it he's having a baby due in June. Davis Bertans from the Wizards. Trevor Ariza from the Blazers. And Wilson Chandler. So mainly a bunch of guys outside of Avery Bradley who are on teams that have no chance of winning a championship. Not really sure what Avery Bradley is thinking. I know he's head of the Players Coalition, so that's going to be interesting to see if any other big names opt out or are guys from teams like the Bucks, Lakers, and Clippers who could have, be impactful in who wins the championship.
Yeah, I mean, we'll touch on a little bit in the interview. We asked Josh about this, so I tend to agree with him. It would seem to me that you travel anyway, and so this idea of like being away from your family for potentially a month, 2-3 months shouldn't be that foreign to you for your job. So I tend to think that either people are making statements in the case of Avery Bradley, or in the case of Trevor Ariza, Wilson Chandler, and these other guys, they know that the team's not going to make the playoffs. And so what's the point, or going to lose in the first round. So what's the point of me going through all of these changes, living at the Disney World, being tested once a day, blah, 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 for what's going to amount to 10 basketball games maybe, and then go right back home after a 2-week quarantine. So I think that's what, and to jump back to the MJ doc, this is why people question today's players, because you saw MJ was trying to play on a broken foot. These cats is like 10 games. I'm not doing that. Like, I got my check already.
Exactly. It's the money is too good. And when you don't have legacy on the line, a lot of these guys don't. I mean, they're, rotational players at best. It just doesn't mean the same. Like you said, they don't have that. It doesn't appear that they have the love for the game to that extent. And lastly, like you talked about the protests. So NBA Players Association, Chris Paul, president, are negotiating with the NBA and Adam Silver to include social justice statements on the back of players' jerseys. So that could go from "I can't breathe" to "Black Lives Matter," all the way to where you want to, charities you want to highlight.
Can somebody call Avery Bradley and give him an opportunity to change his mind and put something on the back of his jersey and get out there with the Lakers? It would be a great statement to win the damn championship and set up there on the dais with the Larry O'Brien trophy and talk about why Black Lives Matter and all the stuff you want to do with the movement. You have a platform. I don't understand giving the platform up.
And we talked about it off the pod, right? When did Colin Kaepernick was not even starting when he was taking a knee for the 49ers, and that became bigger news than the actual scores of the game. That was leading off First Take, undisputed. And so
it's all about how you use your platform.
It's the platform. It's the reason players have voices is because of the platform they're given. So why give that up when it could help, move the movement forward, which is what you're trying to do. So that's all we got, Rob. Anything else before we move to the Josh Powell interview?
Nah, let's jump into the interview, man.
Cool, man. Y'all enjoy. We catch y'all next week.
All right.
The Blitz would like to welcome a special guest, introducing 15-year basketball professional, seven-year NBA player, two-time champion with the 2009-2010 Lakers, and also a one-time WBA, FIBA Intercontinental Cup, and EuroLeague champion. This dude has won on at every level, overseas and in the NBA. Let's welcome Josh Powell to the show. Josh,
what's going on, Kings? Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody?
Good, man. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We're doing good over here.
Rob, how you making out over there in Miami?
Listen, the sun is shining. Just trying to get to the beach later on in the day.
There you go. Let's start it off. Josh, tell us a little bit about, we know you're from Atlanta. Tell us a little bit how you got into basketball. That AAU circuit out there in Atlanta is known across the United States. And then also tell us a little bit about how you got to NC State in that recruiting process.
Yeah, I started off with Team Georgia and the Georgia Stars. Other than the Celtics, like those three were like the top AAU programs coming out of the A. And I was fortunate enough to get the chance to play with Georgia to start, and then I played last 2 years with the Georgia Stars, man. But I'm beyond grateful for that opportunity because that's how I was able to really get seen. That's how I was able to get my name out there against, the better high school basketball players in the country, going to those tournaments and just doing my thing, man. AAU is a game changer for a lot of players coming up.
So, yeah, my follow-up question to that is just coming up, you see a lot now, kids just straight specialize. Were you a one sport guy? Or did you specialize? Did you specialize right away, or did you play multiple sports when you were a kid?
I ended up being I actually was a guy that played multiple sports at the beginning of like my childhood and stuff like that. But baseball and football was what I started with, and then developed a love for the game of basketball later on, and was actually able to just focus in on that and poured everything into that. And obviously it worked out for me. I had some people that pushed me and believed in me. So I'm just beyond grateful for them and what they did for me to help me get to where I am now. Just instilling a certain mentality, certain work ethic, just a pride thing coming from the south side of Atlanta. And those are some of the things I carry with me all to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Now, you went to NC State, for those who don't know. And after your sophomore year, you jumped and went to play overseas for a little while in Russia and then to Italy. Now, in 03, 04, I believe is when you went. That was kind of before a lot of people in the States, really, a lot of basketball players knew a lot about, at least fans knew a lot about going overseas. But now what a lot of high school kids skipping college altogether, they're jumping into, going overseas like LaMelo Ball, or they're going straight to the G League starting next year and getting paid a salary. So first, tell us a little bit about your overseas experience being a baller, in early 2000s before we had these smartphones, and then give us a little bit detail about your thoughts on players skipping college and maybe going an alternate route. What's your take on that?
I just think that this day and age is so much different, and people are branding themselves. People are, I guess, frustrated with how the NCAA is moving and what they're doing and how, in a sense, kind of using the athletes. And, I think another thing people don't realize is you never really know what some of these kids, like how they're growing up or what they're going through. And I think that's a lot of reasons, too, why they jump the way that they do, because, some of them might have that pressure to help their families. You know what I mean? I know that's something that I did when I came out of school. That was one of the main reasons, like, people didn't know what I was dealing with. And just, with my mom and her being sick and just a lot of things going on, that was one of the reasons why I jumped. But I also think another is probably the most important. A lot of those young kids have dreams and aspirations. Like, they don't want to sit up there and play around and have to go to college, if they don't have to do the homework. And then they're making it to where there's so many ways that these kids can go about furthering their career and just getting a head start. I think that no matter who or what, you got to do what's best for you. You got to make sure that you're understanding and learning, and somebody's giving you the correct information for you to make, sound decisions. I think that's really important. So I don't knock anybody for doing what they did. I know I jumped out there for my reasons. And I salute guys for taking their future into their hands. I mean, I think that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, is you wanting to you play your whole life to get to a goal. So why not go straight forward and do what you got to do, whether it's overseas, G League, or NBA. You got to do what you got to do.
So just as a follow-up to that, tell us just like, what was your process? Like, did an agent advise you and tell you, here's the prognosis, we think that this is the best route for you, or what, kind of led to you making the decision to jump to the league after your sophomore year?
I'm grateful for my agent. He was very open and honest about my process. So we had a lot of conversations. He helped me understand the different steps, like what would happen if I didn't get drafted. What would we do? We had a plan put in place just in case things didn't go the way that we thought. I had great workouts. I told my workouts how I was growing in Chicago. Sometimes things just don't happen the way that you would like them to, but I was a little disappointed, but I wasn't discouraged, like, because me and him I mean, he just, like I said, walked me through and what that looked like. And I mean, ultimately, we got back to where we wanted to be.
And so what was playing overseas like back then?
I mean, I was 19, man, and you know, whether it's the NBA or overseas, you still going from being a kid to now you playing against grown men who got wives and families and stuff like that. So
Right.
I'm this 6'9", 200 and 10-pound kid, man, and I'm overseas banging with 6'9", 260, 270, like
Right.
grown men,
Right.
with their front yard strength.
Yeah.
And take your son out in the front yard.
Right.
So it was good, man. I had some really good vets on my team, man. And like one of Brandon Brantley, I remember he like took me under his wing and really like helped me out when I was out there, showed me a lot of things. He just spent a lot of time just day to day, like we just bonded. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like me and the other two Americans. But when you have guys like that, you have teammates like that, it makes the transition a little smoother. I had been used to being away from home, so I think that from that aspect, other than just being overseas, I really wasn't tripping. Because just like anything, right? When you start and develop a routine, you just go with the flow. Like whatever your routine is, like whatever y'all do in the morning, like that just becomes a part of what you do. So I don't really trip about where I am or what's going on.
Yeah. I took my family overseas last year, and that shit was scary, man. So I can't even imagine being a 19-year-old and like packing your bags and moving out there. So. But let's jump a little bit.
It's different, man, especially when they're not speaking the language and
Right.
Right. The money, the currency is different.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's jump to the NBA, man. With the bubble coming, there's a lot of talk about basketball coming back. It's been going for about 4 or 5 months now. What's your take on the bubble? Do you think it's going to take away from the protest? If you were a current NBA player, would you go to the bubble?
I think that either way, whatever they plan on doing, just have a backup plan. That's my only thing, bro. Like, don't not play and then don't have anything that you're doing after that. Even if we do play and move forward, just have a backup plan with how you're gonna attack what we're doing with as a country. That's the most important thing. Now I think that either way it's a strong message, because if you don't play, it sends a strong message. For obvious, because you're hurting a lot of these big name companies and kind of forcing their hand to acknowledge what's going on out here. But if you do play, you have another chance to talk about this stuff every day, bring attention to it, maybe put some plans in order or some things in place for things to change, whether it's having more black coaches in the league, having another black owner in the league, GMs, office positions, trainers, the list goes on and on and on. So I just would like to see or hear at least whatever the next step is. Obviously everybody's on a different page. Some people want to play, some people don't want to play. Then you obviously have the other part of the business side where guys are up for contracts and they're like, I'm not going to go out there and do anything to kind of mess up what I got going on. So it's interesting, man. No matter what, though, have a plan.
But so as a father, my question is, would you go in and play knowing that there's these restrictions where you can't have any visitation from family, I guess, until the second round of the playoffs? And then, if your child has any conditions, they may not be allowed into the bubble at all.
It was breaking up. You say as a father, what?
Would you elect to play in the bubble knowing that your children would not be allowed, your family's not allowed into the bubble until after the second round of the playoffs. And if anybody has any medical conditions, they may not be allowed into the bubble at all.
I'm gonna say if I was playing, I would say yes, it wouldn't bother me. The reason being is because I played multiple years overseas, so my thinking behind that is like it's not anything that's different. Like if I can go months without seeing my kids, it's not gonna hurt to go a couple weeks or whatever to not see my family. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't. And everybody's different. Don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not here to knock everybody. I just know for me, I've been in situations where I've gone overseas for 5, 6, 7 months, and all I have is FaceTime for my family. Gotcha. So I don't necessarily look at it as a huge thing to go 1 or 2 weeks without seeing my family, you know, and playing the game or whatever. I wouldn't trip about that.
That's an interesting take. Being that you played overseas, I think that's a different perspective. I want to take you a little bit out of the player role and put you in the analyst role. And so before the pandemic, you know, there was a lot of talk about LeBron versus Kawhi, Clippers, Lakers. Who do you see as the favorite? And if you were a betting man, who do you see winning it all this year?
I just think that I don't see how you bet against the king with what he's done in his career. And you gotta remember something too, like I know y'all know this already, but the momentum they had, like after all of that stuff that happened with Kobe, and it was just like LeBron was on some other stuff, man, and they got some big wins. I mean, their chemistry has always been great throughout the year, but I think when you had that spirit, man, on your organization like that, you know, it's kind of like in New Orleans, right? When the hurricane hit, you kind of felt like the football gods, the football guys are on your side, like for things to just kind of go the right way. And there are times, you know, in history with big games and big moments or seasons that are like that, where, you know, something tragic goes on, man, and it's just like, it's just a different spirit. It's like the basketball guys or whoever is just on your side, you know, and LeBron he's playing out his mind at, you know, 35, 36 years old. Like you know, I just, and that doesn't take away from the Clippers. We all know Kawhi is a beast in himself. With that group to have, you know, PG, Lou Will, you know, Pat, all them guys. So I just think it would have been a very, very fun and interesting series to watch, you know, over 7 games. So
definitely, I'm with you.
All right. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about your NBA experience. I think when you came into the league, leaving Italy, initially you went to the Mavericks, and then I guess a brief stop in Indiana, then Golden State. Talk to us just a little bit about those 3 stops. Of those 3 stops, what was your favorite place to play and best team of those 3?
Man, I'm grateful for every one of those teams. I think that I would probably have to say Dallas just because they gave me my first opportunity. Because I signed a 2-year deal with, was it 1 year or 2-year deal with them coming out of school, and I believe they still had my rights, but they let me go, and then I signed again like a year later when I came back. I mean, I'm just forever grateful for them, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have got my start. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be able to play in the NBA. And obviously we went to the finals, you know, one of the most controversial finals, but I'm just grateful, man. I think each team each team we had a great chemistry. It felt like a family vibe. So I can't take that away. And a bunch of competitive guys, a good group of guys. So I had fun. It was an amazing, first couple of years coming out. Just all the things that I witnessed and experienced, and then having the chance to learn from greats like Dirk, Steve Nash, Jermaine O'Neal. The list goes on. And then just having the friendships that I had with, guys like Josh Howard or Marquise Daniels or Daryl Armstrong and stuff like that. So, I'm just grateful. You know what I mean? Like I have no complaints. But that would be my pick if I had to pick one.
Okay. Now going from that to Los Angeles, going to the Lakers, winning 2 NBA championships, forming a bond with Kobe Bryant. Can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned earlier with the Lakers now having that vibe, and talk about the Saints post Katrina. How did you feel a different vibe on that 09 and 2010 Lakers team? Did it feel like a championship was on the horizon? Because that was post Shaq, when Kobe had struggled a little bit with the Lakers in terms of wins. And then this group came together and won back to back. So what was that like?
I honestly did, and first of all, I want to shout out to the Clippers because I was there before the Lakers, and that's, if it wasn't for the Clippers that year, then the Lakers thing probably wouldn't have worked out that way. Because I would have to say the Clippers was the year where I was able to get it off, like just straight hoop, because we had so many injuries, and I was like playing 30 minutes a game, putting up numbers. So I'm beyond grateful for the Clippers year and that opportunity. But I definitely I felt something was in the air. Like when I finished my workout and they started workouts early, and I came in early, and you pretty much had damn near the whole team there, like on a mission, because they just faced an embarrassing loss to Boston that summer before.
Right.
And they had it on their minds from the jump. I mean, even Kobe was coming in there, getting it in and doing what he was doing, and you could just tell there was something special that was going to take place with that year. At least I thought so.
Gotcha. And just with me and Rob are sports historians, and so I went to the archives and I brought up an article in ESPN in 2010 which talked about you and Kobe specifically, R.I.P. Kobe Bryant, untimely passing. So I want to get your thoughts on, I read a lot about how you were a co-captain of that team with Kobe and Derek Fisher. And so how does a guy who just comes to the team as a contributing player with the best player in the NBA at that time, and Derek Fisher, a long-standing Laker, how do you come in and insert yourself as a leader and get and become a leader to guys who have been on the team, have like you said, went to the finals the year before? That says a lot about you. So how, as a man, as a leader, do you go into a new locker room and establish that identity as a captain?
Oh man, you gotta send me that article. I want to see that.
I'm gonna shoot it to you.
But I think for me, what always got my teammates' attention was my work ethic, was my professionalism. It was how hard I went every day and how I showed up and how I brought it every day. I think that is something that helped me gain their respect. And they felt that they could trust me, you know what I mean? Like in game situations, because no matter what, I mean, I was always ready. The way I competed every day, I mean, having the chance to play against guys like Powell Gasol, Lamar Odom, Andrew Bynum every day, I don't have any choice but to get better, on the offensive end and the defensive end, because those guys are going to push you. And if you can have, success or push those guys or challenge those guys, I mean, no matter who we played on a nightly basis, it was nothing. Like, you just want to go out there and compete. And I'm grateful. I'm humbled that you know, we all built that chemistry, and we all had those types of relationships with each other. You know what I mean? Where guys, you know, we backed each other. And then the other beautiful part of it too was, you know, a lot of people that see practice or certain things like we had hoopers on that team. I be laughing at that little meme like Kobe took this team to the finals, and it's like, bro, he did it 3 years straight. So like, how do you knock? Like, what's going on? Like, there are hoopers on that team. Just because you don't see it, but there are guys on that team that'll give you a bucket. There are guys on that team that play really good defense. There are guys on that team that know how to make plays and do the right things. Like, I'll just be laughing because it's like, man, y'all got to get over that. Like, so what does that say about the rest of the league if he can take this sorry team to the finals 3 years straight?
Right.
You know, so I just wish they would cut all that out, man. Like, we had some dogs on that team. You know, I bet nobody would see any of those boys in the summer run when you ain't got to worry about running plays and somebody giving you that pill, letting you go to work. That's the thing that people don't understand.
Right.
Like, bro, you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, definitely.
So just talk to me a little bit about what it was like to play with Kobe Bryant. Everybody talks about the intensity of you know, Michael Jordan. Obviously, the documentary just finished. What about Kobe Bryant when you saw him play was different than, I mean, because you play with a lot of great players. I mean, Elton Brand, Dirk, you know, just a lot of talented people. So what, if anything, would you say separated Kobe Bryant from those people?
You know, I know we like talking about how he was on the court. I always like talking about how he was off the court as a husband and as a father.
Okay.
Because he's somebody that embodies like greatness across the board.
Gotcha.
And I think that was like the thing that I respected the most, like how he showed up for people, you know, how he was with his wife, how he was with his kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the type of leadership that I can appreciate. I mean, we know the stories. He's a dog. Like, he'll cuss you out. He had that same grit, that same grind as Mike, you know.
Right.
But the other thing and I know people always ask why me and him were as close as we were during my 2 years there. But I think that he respected my grind, like, and how I went at it and showed up, and I wasn't backing down from anybody. And I think that when you look at guys like the Mikes, the LeBrons, you know, Kobe, or anybody that's great, I think that when you look at how they are with their teammates, it comes from the respect thing, and they appreciate ethic. I mean, I like Udonis to be one of the he's played his whole career for the Miami Heat. And, you know, guys like D-Wade and Shaq and those people, like, when they won those 3 titles, like, how they respect him because he's such a vital part of what they did.
Right.
Why? Because of his work ethic. Why? Because of his, you know, energy and his defense and his rebounding and him being a knockdown shooter in big moments. There's a lot of stories. There's guys out there that are like, and, you know, I pride myself on being one of those guys. I found a niche. I understood my role, and I did it to the best of my ability.
Definitely. Like Rob mentioned, right? We had the Last Dance documentary, and one thing that I found fascinating, and I think he's probably the best coach in the NBA, if not one of the top coaches in any sport, is Phil Jackson, and the way he was able to not I don't want to say manipulate in a bad way, but just organize the piece to the puzzles. He knew how to treat every player the way they needed to be treated to get the ultimate success. So he knew how he needed to treat Mike as opposed to Dennis Rodman, and give Rodman his space, as we saw in the documentary. So in saying that, what was your experience with Phil Jackson? What's some wisdom or knowledge he imparted on you that you take to this day?
Yeah, because especially as a parent, I got multiple kids, so that's definitely something and that helps me as a father to be able to manage egos and to manage, I guess in a sense manipulate the system. Because you have to do the same thing in life, man. Whether it's our family, our friends, you can't treat everybody the same, and you gotta figure out ways to pull out the great in everybody. So that's something that I appreciated about Phil and how he masterfully went about it. I don't think there's anybody better to do it. And then you talking about he had two of the biggest alphas that in NBA history.
Mm-hmm.
So, for him to do it, for him to have this necessity to win 11 rings.
Oh, you cut out a second. Can you go back a little bit about what you're saying about Phil Jackson? I'm sorry. Oh, you're on mute. We got a little technical difficulties. Bear with us.
Can you unmute him?
I can't unmute him. Let me see. I can't even chat. I'm gonna text him. We can still edit it. I think it's like the 28-minute mark.
Okay. You're saying we can edit it ourselves before you send it off?
No, I think we could just send it off to Ursa's guy. I'm gonna send it to him right after we figure it out. I'm just trying to make it.
He said he's on.
Okay, it's loading. Okay, we got you. We got you. You cut out right around. You were talking about Phil Jackson like managing egos in your personal life, and that's where it kind of cut out.
Yeah, I was just saying that he's masterful with what and how he did it, and for him to do it with two of the biggest alphas in the history of the game, I think is an amazing thing to see. And that a lot of times, so many people feel like the only way to go about something is to do it this way, and that's the only way. I think that he showed that he was not the traditional, and that he figured out ways to masterfully bring out the best in every player, no matter what level, no matter who they were or what was going on. So I appreciate it, and I've taken that stuff and put it to life, because you bump into a lot of people. I'm in a lot of spaces and just learning how to manage and how to move, and a lot of that came from teams like that. Just different experiences. So I'm grateful for that.
Do you still incorporate any of the Zen Buddhist meditation into your daily life?
Say what?
I said, do you still incorporate any of the Zen Buddhist meditation? The meditation, do you still do any of the Buddhism meditation that he was so famous for?
Every day, bro. To be real with you, that's how I start my day. Sleep, read, pray, I meditate. I'm checking out sermons. I do certain things throughout the day. It's important, man. It's become a part of my lifestyle. I make sure that I work on these things and do those things with my kids. because it's just, it's important, man. It's a lot going on in the world, and you have to find ways in the best mental, emotional, and spiritual space that you can be in. Being healthy in all of those spaces, and I definitely am continuing doing those things, and it helps, keep me in the right frame of mind.
Cool. Well, you've been retired now for about 3 years. Catch us up. What you're doing right now? You mentioned you're doing some work in the community. What kind of foundations and those things you have going on right now?
Well, I'm still, just to let you guys know, I'm playing in the Big Three. They canceled the season this year. This would have been my third season. But me and my kids have a t-shirt company, t-shirtshouty.com. But basically it's like shirts that are positive, like positive message, affirmations, things like that. Like, Dear Queen, I love you. Dear God, I need you. Stuff like that. I have a basketball academy where I'm training kids all the way up to college kids and pros. About to work on a book. I do speaking, just staying at it, continuing to serve, and whatever God brings my way, just enjoying that and staying.
Talk to us a little bit about the Big Three. Like, how did you get involved? Who reached out to you, and how did you pick a team? And my understanding is you went to the championship one year, right? Or was it last year?
Killer threes, huh? 2019 running up.
Which one now?
I said, talk to us a little bit about the Big Three. Like, how'd you get involved in that? Like, because it's always interesting for us on the outside. How does a team get picked? Does the captain, does the coach just call out individual players, or is there like a free agent pool that people pick from? How did you get involved in that?
So the Big Three prides itself on being a players-ran league. They're breaking a lot of barriers. They have a black commissioner. They've had women who have coached, been head coaches in a men's league. They obviously had Lisa Leslie because they beat us in the championship last year. So she's the first black woman to win at a this level. Nancy Lieberman the year before that. So they pushing the barriers, and I think that's amazing of what they're doing. What they do is they have a draft, and they have guys that come in and they participate in the combine, and the captain and the co-captains are the ones who pretty much make the decisions on their roster.
Gotcha.
It's not the coaches, and obviously there are no GMs.
Right.
So that's what makes it interesting, is that guys are in the front office seat and being able to make the moves that they feel necessary for their team. So I'm excited. I feel like we gave it away in the championship last year. Look forward to getting back next summer. And it's an exciting league. I don't know if you two have had the chance to go. I know we've come to New Orleans, but if you do get a chance to go and it's somewhere near you, I think that you'll appreciate it. It's a much more relaxed environment. It's very family oriented. They allow the players to move around the whole arena, signing autographs, doing certain things, taking pictures. It's very relaxed. So it's fun. It's going to be a lot of shit talk. It's going to be competitive.
That's what I like.
So you'll definitely appreciate the show.
Definitely.
Yeah, they came to Miami, actually. I live right across the street from American Airlines Arena, and I didn't realize till the night of the game. So it was already sold out by the time I realized they were playing across the street.
What's the level of physicality compared to the NBA? I mean, do you really you feel like you're still getting a good run, like you got guys who still got a lot left in the tank?
It's prison basketball.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. Yeah, that's cool.
And bruh, it's prison basketball at its finest,
That's
bruh.
what's up.
The stuff that guys get away with, man, it's crazy. You don't call no fouls, like
That's how we like to see the pickup.
Right. Take it back to the park.
Well, look, man, we appreciate the time. We gonna let you run, but we got a couple of quick hitters. We want quick answers. We got a couple questions for. So I'm gonna start it off with what's the best player you played against and with, excluding Kobe?
I mean, I played against a lot of really good. Think that the play against Al Jefferson in his prime moments.
Mm-hmm.
My reasoning is because he was like the first, second, and third option. So it's like they might try to post him up on one block. They might set a screen to bring him across to duck in the middle, and if that don't work, they're gonna bring it across to the other block. And it's like you don't stop like moving.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a lot of touches, and he throwing that jump hook from the free throw line. So I think it was like guys like that. Obviously, I've guarded the Yaos, I've guarded Dwight, and I've guarded a lot of really really good centers and power forwards, even Tim Duncan, all of those guys. But system wise, because a guy is constantly the target, like some of these other places, if they don't hit them on one block, then the action will go away.
Mm-hmm.
And if they come back, then that's one thing. But with Al, it's like you constantly had to keep moving and stay on your toes.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this is on a little bit of a lighter note. I mean, you're still playing, so give me like a couple of tracks off your pregame hype song list.
That's a really good question, bro. Because I gotta switch gears, man. These last couple of months, I've been on my Kanye West Sunday service, man.
I don't know if you saw Snoop Dogg posted last night. Kanye West is in the studio with Dr. Dre. So
Great.
I don't know what kind of Sunday service we're gonna get with Dre features on it, but it's gonna be dope, whatever it is.
Hey, listen, bro. That is one album that I can't stop playing. That like the remakes of some of the songs, like Rain or Weak in the Knees, and man, it's crazy, bro.
I don't know if you get a chance to check them out live.
I'm a Lil Wayne fan. I got you. I'm a Lil Wayne head, man. That's my GOAT. So I can listen to Wayne all day, every day. I can listen to Drake all day, every day.
Right, that's what we like to hear.
When I get into those moves, I mean, and then other than that, I'm super Atlanta with it. Migos, baby, anything Atlanta, even from Outkast all the way T.I. But yeah, I'm definitely a Wayne head. Like it don't matter what he got going on, I'm gonna have some Wayne going on, and that'll get me through anything.
Repping the A, huh? That's what's up. Next question. Favorite NBA city?
Atlanta.
Okay. All right. Cool.
We got a home all the way.
Yeah, we were just
like
making sure.
Nothing like the A, bro.
Nothing like home. All right.
Yeah.
And the last one, just real quick. Just tell the fans. What are you watching right now? What are you binge watching, and what are you reading? Or have you picked up any other hobbies during the COVID-19?
So the book that I'm reading right now is called Fatherhood. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, Fatherhood Principles. What I've really been doing a lot, other than watching sermons, is I've been doing a lot of researching, man, with our history, and just seeing the things that have gone on in different cities, and
Yep.
across the country, bro. Like how Central Park used to be. It was a black neighborhood that took up most of Central Park, and how they just took over. You know what I'm saying? And they had a human zoo, and there was black people in the human zoo, and man, it's just a lot that went on, bro.
Right.
Like it's crazy, and it is nowhere near how they trying to gas us with the black history in this country, man.
Right.
It's some BS. So
Well, I just
I just been really taking the time, and
I just ordered a book called The Burning about the 1921 Tulsa race riots. So, similar to what you're saying, just about the history. And I got this fact I got to tell y'all. I just found out. I've been wanting to tell everybody. The Gap Band, GAP, is actually named after 3 streets in Tulsa that were burned. So I was like, I just felt like I need to share that. We was talking about the history. So
big facts, bro. And I just want to encourage everybody, like, do your own research, educate yourself, because there's a lot of things out here that they're feeding us, whether it's about our history, whether it's about the coronavirus, whether it's about our judicial, political system, just across the board, man. We got to do the research. It's a lot that's out there for us to look at. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just one thing we've been talking about the last couple episodes is the power of voting. But with the power of voting, it really is actually important that you educate yourself first. And I think that historical education, I was actually a history minor at Morehouse. I think that historical education is important, just as much as the education of the current issues, because you kind of then start to understand that not as much has changed as we would like to have think, and once you understand that, then you can start figuring out who's saying the things that are going to actually implement the change that you want.
Big facts. And it's crazy because we keep focusing on presidential, man. It starts at home, just like how you said, just educate yourself. But then it also starts at home, meaning in your county, in your city.
Exactly.
Like just knowing what's going on and being able to vote for the right people in, and then you can go up that ladder to ultimately who the next president will be. But yeah, we gotta get our power back, man, and we gotta make sure our voices continue to be heard. I know for me, ever since the night of the tragedy with George Floyd, I've been out here every day. I don't even know the count of days straight, making sure that I either protest or march or speak or Zoom call or something related to giving back. So I just encourage everybody to, if you don't feel comfortable doing one thing, then at least do something else that's on your heart, because there's a lot of things that we can do, even if it's just educating yourself or having a tough conversation at home. That's good enough.
Definitely.
Well, Josh, man, we appreciate the time. You are our first professional athlete, bro. So we appreciate the love, we appreciate the support, and just a little bit about your history, your background, and what you've been doing, man. So thanks again.
Yeah, this one will go down.
I appreciate y'all, Kings. Anytime, man. Let me know.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I said we appreciate it. This one's gonna go down in the Blitz record book.
We'll get back on.
There you go. We out, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, peace.
All right. Love. Later.